Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and I hope that for not too many of you, it's not in the middle of the night and it's a good night. Welcome to the IPBES web conference on land degradation and restoration, knowledge gaps and needs. My name is Estelle Valiant. I'm a professional facilitator, and I'm supporting the Secretariat of the Intergovernmental Science Policy Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services, IPBES. So I would like first to ask Thomas Koetz, Head of Program of IPBES, to give some opening words. Thomas?
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much, Estelle. Dear all, my name is Thomas Koetz. I'm the head of the work program of IPBES, and it's my great pleasure to welcome you all to our web conference on knowledge gaps and needs regarding land degradation and restoration. This web conference is part of IPBES' efforts to deliver on one of its four core functions, namely to identify and prioritize information needed for policymakers and to catalyze efforts to generate new knowledge by engaging with actors, including experts, policymakers, practitioners, and funding organizations, and many more. I'm very happy to share with you that we currently have almost 500 participants subscribed to the web conference, and 120 people listening in at this time to the webinar. We have the subscriptions reflecting indeed a very broad range of actors from all regions of the world, from policymakers and practitioners from different levels of background and different levels of governance, experts from different disciplines and knowledge systems, and international organizations, including funding organizations and the Convention to Combat Desertification. Over the next 3 weeks, you are all invited to identify knowledge gaps based on the Land Degradation and Restoration Assessment Report, prioritize knowledge needs with hopefully the input of policymakers and practitioners, and to discuss how best to address these knowledge needs identified. To do this in the most inclusive, effective and efficient way, we, guided by our task force on knowledge and data, have chosen this innovative combination of the webinar and the web conference forum, and hope very much that this web conference will be a good example of the great potential of online tools to improve the ease of engagement of international organizations such as IPBES. With the great experience of Ms. Estelle Valiant with online multi-stakeholder conferences, we have put the facilitation of this web conference in very safe hands. All that is left for me at this point is to thank you for listening in, to invite you to participate as much as you can and like in the web forum, and to explore and enjoy the web conference discussions over the coming next 3 weeks. And with this, I would like to wish you all the best and hand over back to Estelle. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Thomas. We have also another opening word. I would like now to pass the floor, well, the screen, because we are on Zoom, to Barron Orr from the Secretariat of UNCCD, the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification. But Barron, can you unmute and take the floor, the screen? You are muted. Carl, can you unmute Barron?
I'm muted here now.
1 second.
That's part of it with web conferences. We have a few technical issues. Lauren, you're going to have to mute yourself. Yes, perfect. Thanks, Barron.
Sorry about that. I thought I had control, but I didn't for that moment, but I do now. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So my name is Barron Orr, and I am with the UNCCD. I'm the lead scientist for the UNCCD, and I want you all to know that the convention welcomes this web conference focused on knowledge gaps identified in the land degradation and restoration assessment of IPBES. And I emphasize that because the basis of how we approach land degradation, which is land degradation neutrality, which basically is about bringing land back into balance so that in net terms, there is no additional loss, no additional harm. And that provides us a global response to the threats that have been identified in the LADRA, in the larger assessment. And that response has been embraced in the international community. As you all probably know, it is Sustainable Development Goal 15, Target 15.3. And that also means that it is a indicator in that process, which is 15.3.1. And that's one of the things that have been identified in the assessment as a gap that we feel the potential is there to build upon. As you may know, that indicator is at a tier 2 level, meaning that it has been embraced and countries are now reporting against it. It has 3 sub-indicators. It's kind of an essential variables approach with land cover change, land productivity dynamics, and soil organic carbon as its fundamental elements. You also may know that in November, the Group on Earth Observations, which is the international body that brings together the data providers and countries, have upgraded this approach to what's called an initiative in their terms, which means that countries have stepped up to invest in the process of identifying and reaching a harmonization of data quality standards, creating the capability to build capacity, and to actually build the spatial data infrastructure to make it more viable at the national level to report. So this is a powerful thing, but the reality is that how we look at land degradation at the global level and at the national level is very different from what the reality is on the ground. And how do we scale between those? How do we monitor LDN at the project level so that ultimately we achieve this global target? Another gap that we are very encouraged will be part of this discussion is to focus on drivers. And IPBES, along with the World Atlas for Desertification, are the first global assessments to actually have the courage to take on the reality of the elephant in the room, which is consumption and production. And how do we actually look at the fact that what we eat influences land degradation in other countries, and our behaviors are contributing to that? To pursue that, which is basically something that is measured in flows, basically trade flows, how do we link that to land degradation neutrality, which is about area, which is about the ground? We could take tools like trace.earth and trends.earth and bring them together for that. But this is a gap that we must pursue. Creating an enabling environment is another major area that we would like to see progress, and was a major part of IPBES, which focused on indigenous and local knowledge. So how do we reconcile a bottom-up approach with a top-down approach so that we can actually focus on the area that's the key to land transformation or land use change? In other words, how do we get involved in the planning process so that we actually can optimize our spatial mix of interventions and navigate the inevitable trade-offs that come with the access and use of land? If we can address these gaps, we can then put countries and projects in the position to avoid, reduce, and reverse land degradation in a strategic way. And that brings in other gaps. What are the tools like connectivity, for example? If we were to be able to emphasize something like this in the research realm in an operational way, we could put countries and planners at all scales in the position of making better decisions so that we can actually meet multiple goals. doing the right thing in the right place at the right scale so that it makes a difference for future generations. I thank IPBES for this process, and I look forward to what comes out of it. Thank you very much.